After 6 years married to Marcus, he finally admitted he didn't love me. I felt nothing but relief. My job as the background character in his story was almost done. He handed me a card with 8 digits on it, child support, cold and practical. Our son looked crushed. He wanted to go find Vivian too, he said. I felt another wave of relief. Good. No more raising a child that was never really mine to keep. Even the system in my head seemed to exhale. Host, you may proceed to your next target, but right then, I put on the performance. I let my eyes well up. Marcus, we've been together for years. We have a son. How can you be this cold? I sobbed convincingly. He looked down at me, and after a pause, wiped my tears away with his thumb before pressing the card into my palm. Child support, he said, flat as ever. He turned to leave, and I watched his back retreat, and something in me, something outside the mission, made me call after him anyway. We built a life. A child. And you're telling me it was always her? I shouldn't have said it. Once the male lead realizes his feelings, my role is finished, no need for extra scenes. But some moments went further than the script required. Marcus paused, turned his head, his familiar brown eyes settling on me the way they always had, right before he used to pull me close and murmur, "Elena, call me husband." I'd mistaken that for love, once. Now I understood, every time he looked at me like that, he was only confirming what he already knew. He never loved me. He walked away without another word. And there it was again, that relief, like a verdict I'd been bracing for finally arriving. I took our son Leo out shopping afterward, humming under my breath, but he was subdued the whole time, uninterested even in the toys he usually begged for. I knelt down. "What's wrong, baby?" He sniffled. "Dad's leaving to be with Aunt Vivian." I told him no matter what, Marcus was still his father. He tugged my sleeve. "I want to go be with Aunt Vivian too. Will you let me?" I stared at him. He didn't understand what he was asking. "Does she want you there?" His face lit up with dimples. "She says I'm the best kid ever." I told him slowly that she could be his new mother, if that's what he wanted. He nodded, easy as anything. "It's okay, Mom. Dad and I will still visit you." I laughed bitterly, Marcus wouldn't. Leo frowned. "If you're nice like Aunt Vivian, he will. And I'll come too, okay?" I said okay. He looked surprised I agreed so fast, then pulled out the jade pendant I just bought him and tucked it away. "I'll save this for Aunt Vivian instead. She'll love it." I watched him smile and said nothing. The system tried to comfort me. I told it there was nothing to comfort, fathers and sons share taste, that's all. Besides, I'd had the system block every physical sensation during the pregnancy, no pain, no complications, nothing that made Leo feel like mine rather than Marcus's. Since our marriage was over, there was no practical reason to keep him around. If he wanted to go, I wouldn't stop him. Relief settled over me again, no more parenting duties. The system echoed the sentiment, "Host, proceed to your next target." While father and son schemed over how to win Vivian's affection, I had my own problem, catching my new target's attention. I sat at the bar making small talk with the bartender, glancing repeatedly at the corner booth where my target sat, sipping his drink, unbothered. I asked the system quietly whether pretending to be drunk and stumbling into him was a viable strategy, or whether it would just end with him calling Marcus. The idea gave me a headache. If I'd known this man, Dean, Marcus's closest friend, would become my next assignment, I'd never have spent years resenting him. He was always the one bringing up Vivian at gatherings, always the one making Marcus go quiet and distant, embarrassing me in front of everyone. I finished my drink and made my move, pushing through the crowd toward him. But when the music swelled and the crowd surged, my view was blocked, and by the time I broke through, someone else was sitting across from him, Marcus, elegant as ever, and Vivian, glowing beside him. My target had vanished. A tap on my shoulder, the bartender, holding out my dropped keys. "Miss Rivers, you left these." I thanked him, flustered, and turned to find Dean standing right behind me, hand in his pocket, shadow falling over me. "Looking for me? You've been watching a while." I froze. The system urged me on, "Host, pursue him." I nearly laughed. When I'd gone after Marcus, I was 19 and could play the naive, devoted girl without effort. 7 years later, what role was I supposed to play now? Before I could answer, Marcus's voice cut through the noise, calm and approaching. "Dean, what are you doing standing there?" I panicked and ducked into the crowd. The last thing I wanted was Marcus seeing me here, chasing his best friend. Someone caught my arm and pulled me forward. I stumbled into a warm chest, a faint scent of cedar surrounding me. "Who's this?" Marcus asked, unable to see my face from his angle, his voice sharpening. "Just some stray who wandered in," Dean said, unbothered. "Don't start," Marcus warned. "I'm just being hospitable," Dean replied lazily. "Aren't you heading back? Someone might steal Vivian's attention." Marcus didn't answer right away. I felt his gaze linger on us before he spoke again. "Vivian's cousin came tonight too." I understood immediately. Vivian's cousin had liked Dean for ages, and now they wanted to nudge things along. That wasn't going to happen. Not to my target. Dean's fingers stayed loosely tangled in my hair as I kept my face hidden against him, listening to Marcus's footsteps hesitate, then finally retreat toward wherever Vivian was waiting. I exhaled against Dean's shirt. "You can come out now," he said. I stepped back, trying to recover whatever dignity remained after 3 minutes pressed against a stranger's sternum. Smoothing my hair, I looked up to find him studying me with an expression I recognized, the look of someone examining something they hadn't figured out yet, but fully intended to. "So," he said. "Thank you," I replied, "for hiding me from my best friend's ex-wife's current, whatever I am to this situation." His voice stayed even. "You're welcome." I reached for my clutch. The system pinged faintly in my mind. I ignored it. "You were watching me before," Dean said. "Before you dropped your keys." I looked at him for a long moment before answering honestly. Lying to Dean felt like a strategy destined to fail. "I was going to approach you," I admitted, and then Marcus showed up. He tilted his head. "You're not upset, seeing them together?" "Not a question." "Should I be?" He considered that, then nodded toward the quieter end of the bar. "Come drink with me. You look like someone who's been performing all night and needs to stop." I didn't know how to respond to that, so I just followed him. The first 3 weeks after Marcus were logistically simple. I moved into an apartment with north-facing light and no memory of him in the walls. I forwarded my mail, canceled subscriptions he always forgot about, updated my information everywhere that mattered. He called twice that week, not about reconciliation, just Leo's schedule. I told him Leo wanted to be with Vivian now. He went quiet, then said he'd figure it out. Leo texted once, "Hi Mom, Aunt Vivian bought me the biggest Lego set in the store." I replied, "Good. Enjoy it." He didn't respond again. By the end of the week I felt lighter than I had in 6 years, not painless, but like a bruise finally released from constant pressure. Dean texted the next day, "You drink like someone running calculations." I stared at the screen while the system urged me to respond warmly and advance the mission. I told it I had this handled. I typed back, "You watch people like someone running surveillance." His reply came fast, "Fair." Then, "Dinner Thursday. I'll pick you up." I offered to send my address. He said he already had it, which should have alarmed me more than it did, but Dean had orbited Marcus's life for years, and by extension mine, and his particular brand of quiet confidence made unsettling things feel ordinary. Thursday's dinner was at a place that wasn't trying to impress anyone, already better than every restaurant Marcus ever chose. Dean ordered without glancing at the menu, same as me. He noticed and said nothing. We talked about everything except Marcus, Leo, Vivian, the last 7 years. He asked what I'd been doing before Marcus, and I told him about the life I'd had before the mission rewrote everything. He listened like someone genuinely curious, not waiting for his turn to speak. Halfway through dinner he asked, "What do you want?" Not what I planned to do. What I wanted. Nobody had asked me that in years, not the mission, not Marcus, not Leo, whose needs simply took precedence over asking. "I'm still figuring that out," I said. He nodded like that was a perfectly reasonable answer and kept eating. We stayed at that table 3 hours. Meanwhile, Marcus and Vivian looked happy in every photo online, Leo grinning in theme parks, elaborate desserts, a hobby class Marcus had somehow never known Leo wanted, though I tried twice to enroll him myself. I didn't follow their accounts closely, but I noticed Leo's texts had stopped entirely after the second week. The system didn't think it mattered. I filed it differently. The first crack in Marcus's happy ending came through Dean, almost accidentally. We'd been spending time together in a way that resisted easy labels, not courtship, not quite friendship, something closer to two people choosing honesty and discovering how rare that actually was. He mentioned that Marcus had called him twice that week. About what? I asked. Leo's running fevers, not sleeping well. I sat with that. Vivian doesn't like disruptions to her schedule, Dean added, without judgment, just fact. He asked if you were available. He has my number. He's embarrassed. A pause. Vivian said it was fine if Leo came to you when he's sick, she doesn't want it spreading. I told Dean that Leo could come if he wanted to. 2 days later Leo showed up at my door with a small backpack and a fever of 38.4 degrees Celsius, looking smaller than I remembered, or maybe I'd just stopped tracking how much he'd grown. "Hi, Mom," he said, trying to sound normal. I made him congee. He watched me cook without talking much, then fell asleep on the couch under the blanket he'd left behind months ago, which I'd washed and kept folded without asking myself why. When he woke, fever down to 37.8, he asked carefully, "Does Aunt Vivian's Lego set count as my birthday present even though it wasn't my birthday?" Did she say it was? No. Then no. He went quiet. She got annoyed when I got sick. Dad said she was just worried. I said nothing. She was annoyed, Leo said quietly, certain. I didn't agree or disagree. Want more congee? He nodded. Part 8. When he woke, his fever had dropped, and he looked at me with the expression of someone working through something he hadn't found words for yet. "Mom," he said, "does Aunt Vivian's Lego set count as a birthday present even though it wasn't my birthday?" I asked if she'd called it that. No. Then no. He went quiet. She got annoyed when I got sick. Said she didn't want to catch it. Dad said she wasn't annoyed, just worried. I said nothing. She was annoyed, Leo said quietly, certain. I didn't confirm or deny it, just asked if he wanted more porridge. He nodded, and we left it there. Marcus came to collect him that evening, stepping into my apartment for the first time, looking around with the expression of someone who'd expected one thing and found another, clean, quiet, a few small paintings I'd hung because I liked looking at them, not because they matched anything. He seems better, Marcus said. Fever's almost gone. He glanced around again. You seem, he stopped himself. He can stay tonight if he needs to, I said. It's up to you. Marcus nodded slowly, lingering a beat too long. Elena, you don't need to say anything, I told him. He closed his mouth. Good night, Marcus. He left. Dean asked me once, about 6 weeks into whatever we'd become, if I'd ever loved Marcus. I thought about it honestly. I cared about him. There were moments that went past the mission. But I was always going to leave when it ended, I just didn't expect him to be in such a hurry. And I didn't expect Leo. What about Leo? I looked out the window. He was a surprise. The system blocked the physical sensations, so technically he was always more Marcus's than mine. But when he had nightmares, he came to my side of the bed. When he got hurt, he cried for me first. When he learned a new word, he told me before anyone else. I didn't realize how much of that I'd absorbed until it was gone. Dean was watching me. Is that why you haven't cut contact completely? Partly. And partly because some things you do regardless of mission parameters. He nodded, like it confirmed something he'd already suspected. What about me? He asked. Am I mission parameters? I studied his face. It always rewarded studying, more underneath than on the surface. You were, I said honestly. And now? The systems wanted me to accelerate for weeks. I keep not doing it. Why? Because this, I gestured at the space between us, isn't something I want to execute on a schedule. He was quiet, then asked the same question a third time, patient as ever, so what do you want? I want to figure out what I want. For the first time in years. Okay, he said, and poured more tea, and we watched the evening settle in, and it was the least complicated I'd felt in longer than I could name. The first visible crack in Marcus and Vivian's relationship came 3 months after the divorce. Leo started showing up more, not dramatically, just appearing Wednesday evenings with his backpack, homework, and a growing list of things Vivian had said that he was quietly reviewing for fairness. She didn't like his noise levels. Called his energy exhausting. Photogenic when documenting something, unreachable when tired. Leo reported it all with careful neutrality, but I'd known him 7 years and heard everything underneath. Dad says she just needs to adjust, he said one evening, erasing a wrong answer on his math homework. He watches her like he's hoping she'll turn into something else. He was 7, describing longing more precisely than most adults manage. I told her once her cooking smelled nice, he said. She said kids say weird things. He paused. When I told you my soup was good, you just said thanks and asked if I wanted more. Do you want more soup? He burst out laughing, the sound of everything being briefly, completely fine. Marcus called me directly in the 4th month, not about Leo, just me. I've been thinking, he said slowly. When I look at him, I keep seeing things I never noticed. The way you packed his lunches exactly how he liked. How you knew he was getting sick before he showed symptoms. He knows every word to 3 songs because you sang them with him as a baby. He told me, said, Mom taught me. I said nothing. I don't even know Vivian's middle name, he admitted. Months together and I never asked. You saw what you chose to see, I said. That's not a crime. It's just what it was. Take care of yourself. I ended the call. Dean showed up 20 minutes later, unannounced, coffee in hand, and didn't ask what happened, just sat with me. He called to feel bad out loud, I said. Did it help? Not him. Maybe me. I feel less like a chapter he skipped over. I asked why he'd never told Marcus to notice me, all those years. I told him twice, the first year, Dean said evenly. He said I didn't understand their relationship. I stopped mentioning it. The longer it went on, the more I wasn't sure what was worse, disrupting your life by making him see, or just watching. Watching for what? He looked at me, and something in the room finally shifted, or I finally stopped ignoring it. My parameters, he said carefully, have been outside the original framework for a while now. Mine too, I said. Leo showed up crying for the first time on a Saturday morning in the 5th month, backpack clutched to his chest like a shield. I want to come home. He held out the jade pendant, the one he'd saved for Vivian, the one she'd called a strange gift and left on the counter. I took it. She's not bad, he said carefully. She's just, not you. I didn't say I told you so. I made him breakfast, let him process it his own way, and told him later, I'll always love you. That doesn't change. But your home with Dad is still yours to figure out. Are you angry? No. You were 7. That's allowed. 6 months out, the system had quietly given up on the mission, with Dean, filing it simply as target engaged, the tone of something that had stopped trying to control an outcome. He knew about the system eventually, asked better questions than most people would, and sat with the answers steadily, the way he sat with everything. Does it bother you that you started as a mission? I asked once. Less than it should, he said, because you stopped treating it like one. That first dinner, you could have rushed it. You didn't. That's when I knew you. The moment finally landed on Marcus in the 7th month, at a friend's birthday dinner. He arrived with Vivian, I arrived with Dean. Across the room, he watched me laugh, a real laugh, the kind that can't be manufactured, at something Dean said, and I saw the exact second the understanding reached him. He'd never once given me a reason to laugh like that. He turned back to Vivian, looked at her the way he used to look at a horizon he was sure held what he wanted, and slowly began to suspect he was wrong. Walking to the car after, Dean said quietly, he finally saw it. Does that help? I thought of the years, Leo's laugh, the porridge at 3 a.m., the pendant on my windowsill. It doesn't undo anything. But yes, a little. The tragedy was never that Marcus lost me. It was that he never once saw me while I was there. He would carry that. I would carry something else entirely, something finally, fully mine.